What happens when one of the most powerful kings in ancient India decides to sit down and have a chat with the Buddha? Well, that's exactly what we're diving into today, a really fascinating encounter from an ancient text called the Kanakatala Sutta, or as we're calling it, A King's Questions. And look, this isn't just some dusty old history lesson. Nope, we're talking about a deep dive into three huge questions that are just as relevant today as they were back then. Stuff like, what are the real limits of knowledge? Is social equality even possible? And hey, do the same rules apply to everyone, even the most powerful beings out there? The answers? Well, they just might surprise you. Okay, so let's set the scene. Picture this. On one side, you've got King Pasenadi, a seriously powerful ruler of this massive kingdom. And on the other side, the Buddha, whose teachings, well, they were totally radical and were really shaking up the old ways of thinking. So they meet in this calm, peaceful deer park. But believe me, this is no casual chat. The king is on a mission. He has come to get answers to some of life's absolute biggest questions, and he wants them straight from the source. So the king, he doesn't waste any time. He gets right to it. And his first question? It's a big one. It's a challenge to the whole idea of enlightenment itself. Can anyone truly know everything? He basically says, look, I've heard this rumor that you teach that no one can possibly know and see everything. Is that actually true? I mean, talk about a direct challenge, right? He's basically questioning the limits of the Buddha's own wisdom right to his face. And the Buddha's answer here is just brilliant. He doesn't come back with some big claim about being all-knowing. Instead, he makes this tiny, crucial clarification. He says, it's not possible to know and see all things simultaneously. That one word, simultaneously, it changes everything. It's not about the scope of what you can know, but the fact that you can't perceive it all in the exact same instant. All right, so for question number 2, the king moves on to a really explosive topic. I mean, this is something that could have gotten a lot of people in a lot of trouble back then. He brings up the caste system. He asks point blank, so what about the rulers, the priests, the merchants, the laborers? Is there any fundamental difference between them? You have to understand, in a world where your birth decided your entire life, your whole destiny, that question was absolutely revolutionary. And the Buddha's response? It's a total game changer. He basically says that spiritual liberation has nothing to do with your family tree or who your parents were. No, it's all about 5 universal qualities: faith, health, honesty, diligence, and wisdom. He's saying anyone from any walk of life can achieve liberation by working on these things. In other words, your character matters way more than your caste. And then, to really drive the point home, the Buddha uses this simple but incredibly powerful analogy. He says, hey, imagine you build a fire. Use different kinds of wood, some fancy, some plain. Does the flame itself, the heat and the light, change depending on the wood? The answer is obvious, right? Of course not. Fire is fire, no matter what you use to start it. And he gives another great example. He says, what about a trained animal, like an elephant or a horse? If you train it, does it only obey a master from a high caste? Again, the answer is a clear no. The animal responds to the person's skill, not their social rank. It's all about what you can do, not who you were born as. So the message couldn't be clearer, right? Just like fire from any wood is still fire, liberation, that ultimate freedom, achieved through virtue, is exactly the same for all. Okay, so for his third and final question, the king shifts his focus. He goes from the social world right up to the cosmic. He starts asking about the gods themselves. He asks, what about the high gods, the Brahmas? Are they permanent? Are they just fixed up there in their celestial realm forever, exempt from all the rules that govern the rest of us? And once again, the Buddha's answer isn't about blind faith. It's all about reason, about cause and effect. He explains that even the gods are subject to the law of karma. It's simple. If they still have sensual attachments, well, they'll eventually have to return to the human realm. But if they've extinguished that attachment, they're liberated. They don't return. So their divine status doesn't save them. It's their inner state that decides their fate. And then one of the king's generals jumps in with a great follow-up question. He's like, okay, but can a higher status god just exile a lower one? Just kick him out? And the Buddha's answer is a short, simple no. It just reinforces this core idea. There's a cosmic law at play here, and it applies to absolutely everyone, from the bottom all the way to the very top. So there you have it, three huge questions and three revolutionary answers that consistently choose reason over dogma. So how does a powerful king react to all this? To having his entire worldview pretty much turned upside down? Well, he isn't angry, he's not defensive. The text says he was deeply pleased and satisfied. I mean, he came looking for clear, rational answers, and that's exactly what he got. He left with a brand new understanding, not just blind faith. So, what are the big takeaways here? What are the enduring themes from this incredible conversation? Really, it boils down to two huge ideas that are still pretty radical today. First, this deep commitment to social equality, this idea that your worth is based on your character, not on the family you were born into. And second, this focus on rationalism, this belief in cause and effect, even when you're talking about gods and the divine. I mean, think about it. A king and a teacher met in a park about 2,500 years ago. But the questions they talked about, questions about knowledge, equality, and justice, they're the exact same questions we're all still grappling with in our world today. So that really leaves us with one final thought, doesn't it? What do these ancient teachings on equality and reason really mean for us, right here, right now?